Mr. Ordonez is the chair of the Alianza Agricultura. Ang kanyang subject matter dito sa kanyang isinulat ay hindi lamang tungkol sa smuggling, kung hindi pati kung bakit nga natuloy-tuloy na hanggang ngayon yung mga nahuli na bigas ay ino-auction at napupunta rin dun sa mga smuggler din na nagpasok. Maybe Mr. Ordonez, you can shed some light on this, on how this is continuing to occur, and it is being done on the basis of an order that was issued by Davao Regional Court. So maybe you can give the committee, bigyan niyo po ang committee ng inyong mga observasyon tungkol nga dito sa prosesong ito nangyayari, na kahit na nahuhuli ang mga smuggler, hinuhuli ang kanilang mga smuggle na bigas, ito ay nababalik din sa kanila. How does that happen, Mr. Rodon?
Thank you. Alam niyo, Senator Ejercito, it is not being auctioned to the smugglers, it is being given back to the smugglers with no one competing. And I will tell you why. That is why we have a case in the Supreme Court and the Ombudsman. We filed it already. I represent Alianza Agricultura, 42 federations of organizations covering all sectors with special attention to rice. It is because your discussion here highlights the fact that we, the farmers, are very angry. Because as you look for this person called David Tan, even as you look for that and you try to catch smugglers, the smuggled rice is going back to the smugglers. And I'll tell you how it's happening, Senator Marcos. There is an injunction from Davao, which is patently wrong. That's why we have a case in Supreme Court and Ombudsman, which said that all this talk about your smuggling is ridiculous because there is no such thing as smuggled rice. And the reason there's no smuggled rice is because there is supposed to be a WTO commitment. As of June 30, it's supposed to be ended. And therefore, there's all this talk that it is contradicting our law. Well, let me tell you this. There is no contradiction between WTO and the domestic law because we have to understand that that was approved in the resolution and that is subject to each country's laws and each country's pace of development. And only last December in Bali, Indonesia, when we went there, it was made clear that we're still negotiating. There has been no complaint that we're extending it. There has been no decision. And there is a law, therefore there is no contradiction, honorable members of the Senate, between what WTO says and what we're saying. The WTO right now is accepting by consent, with no objection and no ruling, that it is happening now. Given this, the judge has, in a way, very responsibly said there is no smuggling, let it out. We commend the Commissioner of Customs and Commissioner Bellosa. For the first time in history, we the farmers are happy because they got, in 3 months, what took more than 30 years to do. They got 2,000, and those 2,000 are going to be released. They're going to be released because after Davao made that injunction, the judge in Manila and the judge in Batangas said exactly the same, and Commissioner Sevilio, whom we like, he said, I'm sorry I have to release it because there's an injunction, I might get into trouble. When we talked to the best lawyers, the judge, now that it's a motion consideration, very clear, done by OSD, which is a very good job, they can say, okay, we will not force Customs to do it anymore. But the status now is that Customs says they will follow the injunction. And because they follow the injunction, it's going on. So, members of the Senate...
Just to clarify that one point, Mr. Ordonez, are you saying that because of the declaration or the finding by the court that the rice that has been seized is not in fact smuggled, that they should be returned to their proper owners, who are the people who are suspected of having smuggled the rice into the country? Is that what is happening?
Absolutely correct. And everything will go back to the smugglers with no auction. It will go back to the smugglers.
Because as you say, the position that the injunctions, the orders that these courts have found is that this is not smuggled rice, and therefore it is not subject to seizure by the Bureau of Customs.
That is correct, but if you talk to the Secretary of Agriculture...
But maybe we can ask the Commissioner Sevilla, what is the policy exactly of the Bureau of Customs in relation to this? Clearly, there is, again, this is one of the reasons why the Senate President was asking for an opinion of the Department of Justice. But perhaps as it stands now, absent that opinion, what is the policy now of the Bureau as to the seized rice? Anong gagawin nyo ngayon doon sa mga bigas na hawak ninyo na yung sa 2,000 containers na nabanggit ni Mr. Ordonez?
Mr. Senator, I want to make this very, very clear. The position of the Bureau of Customs is no import permit equals smuggled rice. That's why yung mga
But there's also a question as to the propriety of the import permits. I think Mr. Senator Recto is going to bring up this issue. If hopefully we will have time. But in any case, if those are questionable or at least suspect, then how does the Bureau of Customs handle that situation?
with respect, with all the respect, Senator, we don't believe that the Bureau of Customs is in the right position to be making trade policy. That is something that is made by Department of Agriculture, Department of Trade, and Congress. We just follow what is the law. Now, siguro nung
Pero it's directly under your purview because these are importations, legal or otherwise.
we don't. You're right, Senator. But then, in our discussions with the Department of Agriculture and our discussions with our own lawyers, they've said that the position is that without an import permit, it is illegal, and that is the legal basis that we have used to issue alert orders on these 2,000 containers. Now, the instructions that we.
I think the question that is on the table right now is what then? Let's say, for example, the 2,000 containers that you're holding. Ano gagawin nyo ngayon dyan sa bigas na yan?
Ang order po namin sa mga collectors, okay, yung pong mga subject ng injunction, kami po ay sumusunod lamang sa batas, sumusunod lamang sa korte. Ang position po namin, we have no choice but to follow the law and the courts.
Therefore,
So,
you will those that are under injunction, ibabalik nyo dun
That is
sa kung
correct.
sino man nag-import.
yung injunction,
Dahil ang finding ng mga korte ay sinabi sa inyo na hindi naman in-smuggle ito. Kaya kailangan ibalik ninyo sa may-ari. Anong kaibahan nung bawal i-hold at saka ibabalik?
kung baka sinasabi nila wala.
Kasi kung di nyo i-hold, anong gagawin tatapon?
Sinasabi po nila, hindi ha. Hindi. Kasi ang normal procedure po namin, halimbawa po kung walang injunction, ang instruction po na binigay namin sa mga district collectors is kung within 30 days after dumating, hindi pa ini-issue ng NNA ng import permit, issuehan na po yan ng tinatawag namin warrant of seizure and detention. So may proseso pong susundan doon, assuming na lang po na matapos na po yung proseso, then i-auction po namin yan. Let's say na ma-perfect na po namin yung ownership with the rice. Then, saka na po, required po kasi under the Tariff and Customs Code na any goods which are...
Okay, so yung bigas na under injunction, tuluyan pa rin ninyong rini-release?
Opo.
Or not holding it? So tuluyan pa. So hanggang sa ngayon, ito ay lumalabas pa, identified ito na under the injunction, you're following the court order. So tuluyan ninyo i-release. How much is that?
Yung sa Davao po was 167 containers.
Yes.
Hindi ko lang matandaan off the top of my head yung nasa... yung Batangas 50 kasi po. Actually, yung Batangas po, medyo kakaiba rin po yung nangyari doon kasi dumating po yung injunction. Actually, yung petsa ng injunction was sometime mga December 10. Actually, nung tinignan namin yung injunction, yung importer na yun, walang pinasok na bigas sa Batangas throughout all of 2013. No? Ngayon, nakuha namin yung kopya ng injunction na yan, mga January 10. No? Nagtataka na ho kami kung bakit may injunction from Batangas against our holding. Wala naman kaming in-alert doon kasi nga hindi po nagpasok ng bigas noon. Mga 2 days later, meron na po dumating sa Batangas. So
nauna pa yung decision
nauna po yung decision bago, nauna po yung injunction bago yung shipment.
Napakahusay. Pero hindi sila makakuha ng import permit na bago dumating yung pero may injunction. Magaling ito mga ito.
Yun naman po, kaya nga po, pasensya na po, bigay lang po ko ng konting detalye. Yung sa Davao naman, no, iba naman po yung flavor on. No? Kasi yung sa Davao naman po, yung injunction was yung nag-file po for injunction against the Bureau of Customs was not the importer. It was not the consignee. No? Kumbaga iba pong pangalan na wala naman pong wala po siyang import license from NFA. Hindi po siya registered accredited importer sa Bureau of Customs. Kaya po nagtataka kami, bakit nagbibigay ang court sa Davao ng order sa Bureau of Customs favoring somebody who is not even an importer?
So on that basis na hindi naman importer, hindi naman accredited na importer, ay immediately that is already an illegal importation.
Well, hindi po kasi the importation was illegal because it did not have a rice. It did not have an import permit.
It did not have an import
It
permit.
did not have an import permit.
But even if it had an import permit, if it was an import permit for someone who is not a rice accredited rice importer, they are not allowed to import rice, import permit or not.
Sa Bureau of Customs po kasi, you are accredited as an importer, not as an importer for rice. Yung rice import permit po, NFA po ang nag-i-issue. Sa amin, nagbibigay kami ng permit, can you import or not? Hindi po yan.
No, that's not that issue. Ang ano nito is that paano makapagpasok ang hindi accredited rice importer or importer of any kind. Tapos ito ay naging subject pa ng injunction ng court or order ng Davao Court.
May accredited importer po na nagpasok ng bigas. Wala po siyang import permit, kaya siya meron alert order. Samantalang nung lumabas yung injunction po
Is in favor now of someone who is not a rice trader.
That is correct. Ngayon,
in your investigation, are they connected? These two, the accredited importer and the beneficiary of this court order.
yung pangalan, well, yung pangalan po ng plaintiff is a certain Mr. Joseph Pagmo. Ngayon, naririnig lang po namin sa mga charyo, there is a Mr. Mo who seems to be part of the problem. Ngayon, the actual consignee in Davao is StarCraft, the company that was named earlier. Meron pong sulat sa amin na inquiring about StarCraft, no, from attorney Attorney Salazar. No? So, mukhang may connection na, wala po kaming
Okay, it's not part of hindi lumabas sa investigation niyo, pero I think na ipakita dito sa hearing natin today that there are certain connections at least. So sa ngayon, ang nangyayari ay i-release lahat ito o na-release na.
Yung sa Davao po na-release na.
Na-release na.
Yung sa Batangas hindi pa po kasi meron naman po kaming rights under the tariff code for other reasons to examine if we suspect na meron pong ibang offenses apart from
Well, that's clear enough. Thank you very much, both Mr. Ordonez and Commissioner Sevilla. And once again, I think I have to echo the necessity of an opinion from the DOJ because napapaikutan tayo dito dahil clearly they are hiding behind all of these slight gray areas. And we're putting the Bureau of Customs in a very, very difficult situation. They are trying their best to enforce all of these rules and laws that we have created. But again, the differences between local laws and our international agreements seem to be the hiding place for all of these illegal activities. So again, I will perhaps the DOJ could come up with that opinion. Therefore, make it very, very clear to everyone what it is that they have to do.
Yes, Your Honor. As I manifested earlier, we are carefully studying the matters, and as I manifested also earlier, I'm looking at, well, an initial different position from the legal staff of the department as against the position of the Office of the Solicitor General, which is representing DOC in all of those cases. But at this point, Your Honors, I would just want to help out. I just want to help Bureau of Customs in the quandary that they're in now, in light of the injunction orders. In the first place, if OSG has filed a motion for reconsideration, I'd like to take the position that pending the resolution of the motion for reconsideration, then the injunction order should be held in abeyance. Of course, there are always there's a different view also on the matter. I hope I'm not thwarting any further contempt citation that will be imposed on both Commissioner Sevilla and General De Llosa. But we can take that position. And as I also mentioned earlier, we're looking at the very important issue of jurisdiction. Because I think it's basic that when it comes to importation, the real judge is the Bureau of Customs, or specifically the Customs Commissioner. I mentioned that case about an administrative complaint against a judge, and in fact this particular judge was ordered suspended by the Supreme Court. Now the meat of the decision is that that court, that judge had no jurisdiction over that case, or over the property which is the subject of the warrant of seizure and detention. It is stated that by express provision of law, amply supported by well-settled jurisprudence, the Collector of Customs has exclusive jurisdiction over seizure and forfeiture proceedings, and regular courts cannot interfere with his exercise thereof or stifle or put it to naught. So we're going to analyze, Your Honor,
With that, Madam Secretary, that could that not serve as a basis for the Bureau of Customs now, as you suggest, to hold in abeyance
Yes.
the compliance with the orders of the courts?
Exactly, Your Honor. I'm going to talk to the OSG and raise this as an additional issue, because I'm not sure whether they raised it already. And a jurisdictional issue is a very fundamental issue, so that can be
And
entertained
as you say, the jurisprudence is very clear.
anytime.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, Mr. Ordonez, did you include these arguments in the cases that you filed?
Not only the case in the newspapers, but I'd like to say this, only 2 points since we're running out of time. Point number 1, when I go back to the farmers, I like to tell them that we, in addition to looking forward to David Tanis, that there's a sense here that we'll stop the release of this rice because it is a farce. That we catch this and then we release it as we look for the smuggler. Point number 2, there is no hiding place. If you talk to you, Secretary Alcala, and having been a person in DTI and DA and also President, as understand, Secretary, I am telling you, there is no problem. WTO allows QRs. So there is no problem with domestic and the WTO, because WTO accepts domestic. So that's all. But thank you very much. But I want to go back to the farmers and say that you have helped the farmers today and stopped this release of the rice. And these 3 injunctions have to be looked at very carefully. I hope the Supreme Court takes the proper course with these judges. Thank you.
I apologize to Senator Recto for having taken up his time at lumampas na tayo sa alas 2. So with that, thank you very much, Madam Secretary and Mr. Ordonez and Mr. Commissioner Civilian.